Adequate notice of this regular meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 17, 2024, and was posted at the municipal building in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-7.
Please stand with me and join on a pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sherry. Councilmember Di Benedetto. Present. Councilmember Higgins.
Here.
Councilmember Sparta.
Present.
Council President Rizzuto.
Here. This evening, we are very, very proud and pleased to have with us an Eagle Scout, Dane Walker. And he is going to be receiving his Eagle Scout badge, which, as far as I know, is the penultimate award given to scouts during their scouting career. I've had the privilege of attending a number of courts of honor, and they are absolutely wonderful. I've seen some of the work that the scouts have done for their service to the community portion of their badge requirements, and they've been outstanding. We have some of that work in front of our own building itself. So I would like to have the mayor, since he's signing this, if he was to read the proclamation.
Loudly, please.
Okay. Whereas since establishment in 1911, the Eagle Scout Award represents the highest ranking within the Boy Scouts of America. And whereas qualifying for the prestigious badge requires considerable perseverance, hard work, and dedication, few scouts attain. And whereas Dane Walker, member of Troop 912, for over 8 years has fulfilled his major community Eagle Scout project by redesigning the flagpole area at the Vernon Firehouse, company number 1, with a Maltese cross, obtaining donations of decorative colored stones, lumber, and a fire hydrant, symbolizing the time and efforts provided by the members of the volunteer fire organizations. And whereas Dane is a senior at the Sussex County Technical School in the Allied Health Program, with the goal in the future to be a physical therapist. And whereas through hard work, loyalty, community service, and helpfulness, Dane has realized his goal of achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Township of Vernon that sincerest congratulations is hereby extended to Dane Walker for this commendable achievement, the prestigious Eagle Scout Award as a member of the Boy Scout Troop 912.
In keeping with the Scout motto, be prepared, perhaps you might like to say a few words. No, don't go away.
But you can, well, yeah.
Thank you. It's a lot, I take, going through Boy Scouts for so many years. I always never really had thought of going to all the way to Eagle, but I'm really glad that I did. And I stuck through it all through these years, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does sister want to come up too?
Come on, sister.
Come on.
Yeah.
Sorry, my.
No.
Hello.
It's great because we're back here.
Okay.
Congratulations.
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 Mayor, we have your comments?
Yes. Thank you, Council President. I just have a few things to discuss, and then again, congratulations to Mr. Walker of Troop 912. This is the huge step. Being an Eagle Scout will prepare you for the future. This is an achievement that must be added, and I was talking to him just a minute ago about adding this to your resume, because it really does. It shows what kind of individual he truly is. Giving back to the community, helping others, be kind, respectful, and it's just an all-around great thing. So again, congratulations. Also, to all that you may or may not know, we have about 33 offices that cover 70 square miles and close to 25,000, less than 25,000 residents. This is significantly less than most townships. As I brought up in probably a few council meetings ago about how we compare to other townships in equivalent to size. Again, this is this resolution that's in front of you today is for a new police officer, Robert Bauman. This is initiated because I guess Sergeant Munch was retiring, or will be retiring in August. So last week we had a full panel interview headed up by Lieutenant Dan Young, or Younger, they call him, along with Captain Jason Hall, Detective Curry, myself, and Business Administrator Tina Kraus, which again was overseen by Chief Young. We had the opportunity to ask the applicant a series of questions. Mr. Bauman has obviously went through an extensive background check to even get to this stage. Plus, he is currently a part-time dispatcher for Bergen County, I believe, and also he is a part-time dispatcher for Vernon right now. So his foot is already half in the door. A little something about him. Mr. Bauman he's born and raised in Vernon, and so he stood up pretty well to our questions, and very, very respectfully. So we are wishing him the best of luck. Anyway, going forward, just a couple of things around town. Well, for the building anyway, contractors and homeowners in Vernon, our building department hours have changed from, it's summer only right now. It's from 8, it was from 8:30 to 4, now it's from 8 to 4. I know this may not seem much to some, but it does mean a lot to others. And we've already, this morning, we've already seen a bunch of people that did come in and take advantage of that. A couple other things happening in town, June 12th. There will be a helicopter flying low, checking all the JCP&L transmission lines as a routine patrol, so please don't be alarmed. And I know there's been onto another topic, and there's been a lot of complaints about the vegetation on the medium on 515. And I just want to be clear that we have called the county to have taken care of this. But somehow the weeds were my fault, but that's all right. If that's all the complaints, then I'll take it. Also, just want to mention, I know there's been a lot of talk about the 3 people who originally applied to the beautification committee. One person applied to the EDAC committee as well, and she mentioned in the application that she would choose either or. Now, I put her into the EDAC committee because she had a bad experience last year, and I told her that under the new administration and the new chairman, Peter Knight, who's been done a great job. She is now amongst other former business owners and professionals, and the work that they're doing out of that group has been great. So I appreciate that. So that's where she is. So that's one of the applicants. The second applicant is my daughter, and this is something that I wasn't going to mention on this forum, but I'm going to be a grandfather for the second time. So, you know, as many first-time mothers know that being pregnant and working full-time, you know, could be a lot. It could be stressful. So, and that just leaves one applicant, which I feel is probably too much for one person on that committee. So that's where we stand on the beautification committee. We're still taking applications for the historic Preservation Commission. So we do have 3 applicants now. Also, a couple other things that we are looking to do is kind of give a little bit of an uplift on the town. I have requested from the county to plant trees on 515. You know, they say when you're given, you know, when life gives you lemons, right, you make lemonade. So that's the way I kind of see that medium is lemons. So we are going to be putting some stone planters in between those trees. So hopefully there's a little protection in between that. And we're looking for strictly donations on that, which we've already gotten some. Well, commitments anyway. So that's just part of a little bit of an uplift. We're also looking for donations on a town clock. I'll have that location out as soon as I could. So we're just trying to make that 515 stretch a little bit more presentable. And that town clock will be surrounded by curved planters. So it really would just really give Vernon a new look, I think. And I think we could all agree that the current look right now looks deserted. So so that's what I have just on some of the little touches around town. I do have a lot of things in the hopper right now. So hopefully we'll be putting out some good stuff. I also want to thank the clerk's office, Marcy and Lauren for the election day, and the DPW for setting up all those poll machines. I mean, their morning started at 4:30 and went into the evening. And thank you very much. And 2 other things real quick. June 23rd is Vernon's first car show. So please come down. There'll be a lot of activities there, DJ, food trucks. This is in support of our local fire and EMS. And also next year, I'm gonna kind of jump out on this right now. I just want to let you know that I have been having conversations with the fire department in Warwick, and we are bringing the carnival to Vernon. So hopefully I spoke with the Board of Ed. So far, we seem to be, you know, they seem to welcome that. So, but we'll have further discussions on this. I know this is not something we, again, really put out there, but it's just very, very early stage. So I thought it was pretty exciting to, I know a lot of people are pretty excited about trying to have something like that. So I think that's all my comments. I thank the chief and the captain for being here. If you guys have any questions on anything on the resolution. But other than that, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
May I have a motion to open the floor to public comment? Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Mr. Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. The period is limited to 3 minutes on agenda items only. Council? Any comments? Please give us your name.
You can step up here. Okay.
Okay, McClackery Thomas, how you doing? And Mr. Rizzuto, I'm not gonna remove my hat either, you know, we'll start that out.
I didn't ask you to.
I know, but the last time,
That was a long time ago.
was that?
Oh, yeah, like in 2011. If
Yeah, it
you're
was 2011.
carrying that around, you got a lot of other things you should be carrying.
Yeah, I remember too much. And here's another memory I have. It has to do with the veterans. You weren't here when they redid the ordinance for the veterans tax deferment. When they did that, what they did was they rolled back the taxes from when it's approved, when you folks approve the tax deferment for the veteran, the original ordinance took it back to the annual year. You changed that and you went back another year. I argued at that time that what you're doing is you're giving a tax deferment for life. You know, why are we going back 1 year? Having said that, you know that the law is, and the attorney can vouch for this, the law is this. The state does not require counties or municipalities to give tax deferments to veterans. They leave that up to the county and they leave that up to the municipality. Having said that, there are certain conditions in certain counties, let's say Bergen County, if you're 100% disabled, it has to be your primary residence. You cannot make over X% per year. And for all of that, you have to document that every year. And for all of that, you get $200. When CoreLogic says it's the law, what they're referring to is your ordinance. You're giving away my tax dollars. So, you know, a lot of this stuff, as you know, the PACT Act, I assume you've heard of that. The VA opened up a whole universe of claims, not just Agent Orange, Gulf War syndrome, burn pits, but hazardous materials, a whole slew of stuff. So you're gonna be seeing a lot more veterans coming in with 100% disability. And, you know, at some point, you can't keep throwing chips onto the pile and think we're not gonna be raising taxes. And as I said when you change the ordinance, the county has to give you permission to waive their taxes. Granted, that tax is going on to the rest of the tax base. But you can't tell the county what to do because you're on a lower rung of the political ladder. County tells you, it's up to you. But nobody came back with that ordinance. And that was a disagreement I had with the CFO at that time. Having said that, have a good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wish to address the council? Seeing no one else coming forward, may I have a motion to close the floor to the public?
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Is there a second? Second. Mr. Higgins, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. All members of the council have received a bills list for their approval. Does anyone have any comments on it? Questions?
What is a spay and neuter blanket? Check. 61858.
It's actually 2 or 3 of them in there.
What is? Do you know what it is?
Well,
I have no.
I don't have that in front of me, but I do know that we do pay for the neutering of animals when they come into our facility.
That's a blanket account, spaying and neutering.
That's why it's called blanket. Okay, got it. So what are we spaying and neutering? Dogs that we find on the streets and stuff?
If they're not dogs and cats, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dogs that we put up for adoption.
Yep.
Thanks.
Anyone else? No, not, I'll move on.
Well, there's low cost spay and neuter too. Do we ever take advantage of that or we can't? It doesn't.
We have a running agreement with local veterinarians, and
Okay.
I believe there's a name.
There's
I see them over at Vernon Vet when I'm there with my.
Father's John is in here
Yeah, right.
and the other one was Warm Hearts
Mhm.
or Cold Nose.
Cold nose, warm heart. Yeah, that's what okay. Thank you. That's it.
And also the Animal Rights Alliance Incorporated. All members have received a copy of the minutes of our meeting of May 30th. May I have a motion to put that on the floor, those minutes on the floor for consideration?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second? Seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Are there any questions, comments, additions, or deletions to the minutes of that meeting? No? Okay, can I have a motion, the motion is made, may I have a roll call, please, to approve? the minutes?
Councilmember Di Benedetto?
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins?
Yes.
Sparta?
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Consent agenda. Please let me know if you wish to have any of the resolutions separated, so we can vote on those separately. Resolution 24-164, renewal of liquor licenses, Township of Vernon for 2024-2025 licensing term. Resolution 24-165, renewal of inactive liquor license, T and Z Holding, requiring special ruling in the Township of Vernon for the 24-25 licensing term. Resolution 24-166, a resolution requesting authorization to hire certain police officers. Resolution 24-167, approving a charitable solicitor's permit, McAfee Volunteer Fire Department. Resolution 20-168, refund for totally disabled veteran, Block 436, Lot 14, Siakowski. Resolution 24-169, a refund for totally disabled veteran, Block 106, Lot 21, Stewart. Resolution 24-170, Chapter 159, resolution requesting approval of revenue and appropriation amending the 2024 budget as a revenue and appropriation of $69,435.11. Resolution opposing the proposal by the Delaware National Park and Lenape Preserve Alliance to change the designation of the Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area to a National Park Reserve. Resolution 24-172, a resolution supporting Assembly Resolution AR 133 and Senate Resolution SR 93, opposing all proposals to change the designation of the Delaware Water Gap National Recreational Area to a national park and preserve, including proposal by the Delaware River National Park, Lenape Preserve Alliance. Resolution 24-173, a refund for totally disabled veteran, Block 571, Lot 8, Core Logic. Resolution 24-174, a refund for totally disabled veteran, Block 571, Lot 8, Core Logic. Resolution 24-175, refund for totally disabled veteran, Block 512, Lot 138, Core Logic. A resolution for totally disabled veteran, Block 512, Lot 138, Core Logic. Refund for totally disabled veteran, Resolution 24-177, Block 219, Lot 1, Core Logic. Resolution 24-178, refund for totally disabled veteran, Block 219, Lot 1, Core Logic. And let me see. May I have a motion to put these on the floor for consideration?
Move.
Moved by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Sparta. No questions and comments?
Question.
On which one?
You go.
No, I got a bunch of them.
Okay, can we ask to have those? We can remove them?
You want to remove or just?
I don't want mine removed.
Okay.
You want yours removed?
What, remove my,
Voted on
Yes.
separately?
yeah, I was waiting for you to say, is there open for a discussion, but it didn't come, so,
Well, we'll do it.
thanks. So go ahead. You.
Okay, so, Ann, can you just, the one we discussed, 24-165, liquor license for the Heaven Hill Farm location? If you could just explain that. I was trying to explain it to Bill, but I think you'll do a better job.
So he's already had state approval, I think until 2025. And they are working at something, I believe at Heavenly Hill Farm. And or the property at, they own a very large piece of commercial property right on 94. That if the property didn't sell, it was, open to sell a liquor license with it, but there are some issues working with the DEP on that property because of this Bobcat crossing. So there's working on that, but also they may just do something at the Heavenly Hill Farm, but it has to go with wherever that license, I think, is issued, right? So where's that? Do you know where that license? I think it's in here. I'd have to go through it, but
The address of the license is Heaven Hill Farm.
it is Heavenly Hill Farm.
Yeah.
Okay, so they are working on something there, but I believe they are good until 2025 anyway.
Okay, so they're working on something.
Yeah.
My concern is I don't want people holding on to licenses just to hold on to them.
Oh, I agree.
Other people might want them, so that's why I asked.
I agree,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, we were just handed a piece of paper by Marcia that Governor Murphy signed legislation overhauling New Jersey liquor law like for the first time in nearly a century. And then there's resolutions on here to vote for liquor licenses. What does this new law do with our vote or?
Well,
I didn't get a chance to read it. I just.
Resolution 24. Sorry, 24-164, those are our yearly liquor licenses that have to be approved. These are liquor licenses that are active. The liquor stores you go to, the restaurants that you go to, these are all active. I highlighted two because I added them on after the agenda went out because they paid for their renewals. As far as 24-65, that is a liquor license that is in pocket. It's been in pocket for quite a few years, but they do everything they need to do to keep it in pocket. That's what the 1239 relief is. They apply to the state for that to keep it in pocket. Now, there are new laws for inactive liquor licenses, and I'm gonna let Matt explain that to you better.
Yeah, so the short version is that one of the things that the new law has done, a whole bunch of stuff, but for what we're talking about, is to discourage people from sitting on licenses indefinitely.
Right.
And it allows a couple different options for a municipality or a license holder, depending on the specific situation. So in some instances, it allows township to essentially issue a new license, void the old one and issue a new one. So if you have somebody, have somebody who's been holding it for more than 8 years at this point, you could, not yet, because the way the law timing is, the law doesn't go into effect until like 8 months or 7 months after it was passed. So there's still a window. You can't do anything just yet, but you could decide if that license holder is not going to do anything with that license, they don't want to hold the municipality kind of hostage with it, you could consider issuing a new one. Municipalities can, if you do hold a liquor license and you say, well, I don't want to use it in Vernon, but I want to use it in a neighboring town. Or if you're in Vernon and you want one, you can They can exchange pocket licenses between towns. Has to be contiguous. It can't sell one to Bridgewater or vice versa, but it's got to be nearby. So it gives a little bit more flexibility to towns if you want them to, another town doesn't, or if the, if the user of the holder of the license says, yeah, I want to do something, but I just don't have an opportunity here, but I have one next door, they can do it. Or somebody can come back and say, you're not taking action with it, we're gonna take action for you till we can put it back into play. But you don't have to either. So if depending on the situation, it's discretionary from the council, so nothing happens automatically. So if you have somebody that's holding a license, but you're okay with it, or you don't want to issue a new one, you don't have to do it. It's discretionary.
So do we know how long this license has been held in limbo here?
Well, none of the, so the one that as on your resolution, your agenda for tonight, would not be subject to this new law. Because one, the law actually has some kind of effect yet. And two, because they're subject to this special ruling, it's a little bit different. If you have the license that, you have another license, which is not on the agenda for tonight, I believe, correct?
No.
Not on for tonight, which has been, not used for, 8 years, since 2015, 2016. So in August, would have you don't have to do in August, but as soon as August, you would have the option of taking some action with regard to that license.
So is the party that holds that license is going to expire in August? I assume that's a valuable license that could be sold?
Matt is talking about Legends liquor license right now. Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, so there's a lot of value in that license.
Yeah, there's stuff that everyone can, there's basically options, but the point is to say to somebody who's holding a license, hey, you've been holding it for 8 years. You either better do something about it quickly, sell it, activate it, do something that is going to put it into use. Or if you don't, then, there's gonna be, we can go out and issue a new license and, you can take action against theirs. But you don't have to. Again, that's a discussion you can
Right.
have, right?
No, it's a good
Come in
point.
and say, hey, I'm gonna do it, but I need another 6 months. You could say, okay. Or you could say, no, we're gonna move forward.
Yeah, not knowing who owned these before even the name Heaven Hill came up or Legends. So in the documents, it mentioned something about being part of Warwick or a company in Warwick owns the one in Heaven Hill. Is that it?
That's the Vernon Inn. That's the guy who's buying the Vernon or bought the Vernon Inn, right? He's from Warwick.
Well,
Well, that's 1833 house. That they purchased the Vernon Inn's liquor license and business
Uh-huh.
last year.
So they purchased that and they own that license.
Yes,
And there's only a certain number of licenses are issued per town, right?
Correct.
That's what makes them so valuable. It's built on what, population or it's,
Yeah, it's generally population. Now they've allowed some, if you have a mall, you get some extra licenses now. They're obviously trying to expand for some of the craft breweries. There's some nuances to it. But the short answer is it's population based. And
But isn't Legends and Kites and Red Tail Lodge all over and above what's issued based on population? Because they meet the criteria of a hotel or.
Just say exception.
yeah, I don't know the answer to those specifically, but I can tell you that it's the basic answer is population. But there's, to your point, there's all types of different licenses and there's different hotels have one thing, some
Mhm.
malls now have another. There's but the point is that you're still limited generally. Or there's limitations in the law for how many you can have. You don't have to issue the full amount that you're entitled to. Population goes up, you can say, well, we don't want to issue any. Almost no one does because it's valuable and municipalities make money off if we do issue them, but there's dry towns around the state that are not to issue their liquor licenses.
no. Not to interrupt you, but
it's,
Council Member Di Benedetto, I see you're looking at Resolution 24-164. Those are our yearly liquor licenses.
No, which cruise though?
Drew's is,
Lamppost.
Oh, okay.
lamppost. Yeah, they expire June 30th. And if you don't approve them by resolution, come July 1st, these businesses will not be able to sell liquor.
Right.
So that's why you'll see in the next couple of years, every June, they'll be on the agenda. And I make sure they're on the agenda. It's very important. Because I do not want to send the police to these businesses to tell them that they cannot sell liquor. And that's what I would have to do.
So if all the active businesses are approved tonight,
Yeah.
the inactive ones are not, then the inactive ones lose that license or it's just extended, or how do we?
Well, the only one, excuse me,
The ones that are
the only
on
one that's inactive, I believe, is the
20
T and Z.
24-164, all the licenses that I have listed on here, they're all active licenses.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, they have to.
The other one is an inactive, but it has to meet certain approval criteria for approval by the state, which it has.
Right.
And they now have one more year of being able to hold that license in pocket before they have to do something about it.
I think the question that the councilman's asking, if I may, is, so we understand what's happening with these licenses for 164.
Mhm.
We understand the license for 165. I think the question is, how many other, we've talked about Legends a little bit, but are there other licenses that are inactive pocket licenses that aren't on one of the resolutions, the
There-
Legends?
No, the only inactive pocket licenses that we have are Legends and T and Z Holding. There are a couple licenses that are not on the resolution for the yearly licenses yet because I'm waiting for something. But they will be on the next agenda. I will make sure because I do not want these businesses to not be able to.
And every license comes up annually?
Sorry, 1833 house is active?
Well, they just bought it last year, so they're not, it's not considered in pocket because this is the first time they're actually renewing.
Okay.
So next year, they don't use their license, they will be in
And did you say next month or next meeting?
next year.
The others that are in the inactive list?
Well, I mean, so far, T and Z Holding gave me everything that I need for you to either approve the resolution or not approve the resolution. As far as Legends, I'm waiting for something for them, but Legends hasn't been, the council hasn't, approved Legends liquor license application for years. Because they owe the town a lot of money.
Right.
So,
Councilman, I think their question was, there's gonna be other licenses on the next meeting, which are current active license holders who just didn't get all their paperwork in on time for today.
for today,
So rather than hold up these are on, so that these businesses are done.
Right.
And then some of the other licenses that are active right now, currently selling alcohol, maybe as we speak, but didn't get their paperwork in on time or whatever they needed to do, fees, et cetera, they would be on for your next June meeting. Those are active licenses that just didn't make it on this.
And I assume you'll always separate out the inactive in its own resolution.
well, that's what TZ Holding is.
Yeah,
Right.
but I mean, going forward for any,
Well, yes.
Yeah.
It has to, yes.
oh, okay.
They're treated
Because
separately.
those are the, 24-164, those are active licenses.
Yeah.
They haven't skipped a beat. They have been renewed every year and done everything they need to do to be renewed.
Would it make sense
And they
to separate?
And they use their license.
Would it make sense to separate the inactives that are on tonight's agenda, move them to the next meeting with the others?
There's only one.
What's gonna happen to their business?
TZ Holding is the only one that's inactive and that's a separate resolution. That's 24-165.
The one that's inactive is already separated out
Yeah.
Okay.
in 165.
We typically don't want to, if you can avoid it, because the liquor licenses are so strict. Hypothetically, if these businesses got their licenses in on time. The reason why you wouldn't hold these, let's say, and do them all, let's say at the next meeting, do as a group, is quite frankly, let's say, God forbid, there's a major storm
Yeah.
and you don't get to have a meeting, they can't sell on July 1st,
Right.
unless they're.
No, we don't want that.
Right.
No.
So,
Right around the corner.
you know, ideally, everyone gets in earlier, but for any number of reasons, sometimes they come in, they still owe a fee they didn't know, or they're missing a piece of paper that they have to do, and the laws are pretty clear about what needs to happen in order to get renewed, and for the most part, it's a paperwork issue. Unless there's a, you know, a special concern about a particular license, generally it's, you know, they complete all their paperwork, they complete their fees. You know, the police can weigh in to the extent that there's any concerns or things like that happen. I believe they have to be also specially noticed too, if I recall.
Yeah,
I don't remember about that. If they have, I know you're getting a new license, you do, but
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole process for it. But typically, unless there's an issue, it's a paperwork issue. Unless there's a particular concern over a particular license, it's generally it's been doing paperwork every year, they get renewed every year, but it's a big deal if they don't get renewed.
Right.
Because
Approximately how many more are you waiting for?
3.
3 more?
Mhm. Yeah. And just because, like Matt said, they might have to, send in their local fee or a piece of paperwork that I need to put it on the agenda.
Got it.
But I will make sure that they are all on the agenda, the 3, additional licenses for the, June 24th, because I don't want to see them not be able to serve.
Right.
when we get closer into August, we can have a more robust conversation about what, if anything, township wants to do with regard to legends. You know, what are the specific, and you know, what are the actual options, and how do we know what the law says, but what's the exact process for that, you know, in terms of, is it simply a resolution? Do we need to notify them? Do we want to notify them? You know, we can walk the township through all of that. And August is the first time you can do it, but you don't have to. It's no magic to August, or that's the first time you can. But you don't have to act at any particular point in time.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other?
The only other questions, the gentleman, Tom, from the audience brought up some questions concerning the legality of the veterans' benefits for the total, you know, non-tax payment stuff. Made some statements about the law. I don't know if Matt would want to comment on that.
I can comment generally. These are typically things, not to be the typical lawyer who then points to the other lawyer to say that, you know, they handle it, but typically your tax counsel handles these things. But just to be clear, there's nothing illegal or improper about it. I think the comment was that it's a policy decision that you as a township have made with regard to how you are treating the, you know, the disabled veterans. And I think that the comment was pointing out that you don't, by state law, so your ordinance says, you know, you're following your ordinance. These resolutions, these you know, follow what your current ordinance is. I think the comment was geared to say you could change your ordinance if you wanted to. If you wanted to be less generous with how you treat, you know, veterans or disabled veterans, the state framework sets kind of a, here's what you can do. You don't have to do it. And there's some gray area in between in terms of what is or isn't allowed, and you make a policy decision as to that. And I think that, you know, so from a legal standpoint, these are all completely consistent with your ordinance, which is consistent with the law, no issues. Policy question is, if you want it to be less generous, you could do that. The concern being that that the law, how you define a disabled veteran has expanded, you know, so maybe what you think of as a disabled veteran is not a broader class of people who may be qualifying, or making sure, or looking into the issue of, are they investment properties? Are they, do they have tenants on the property? Usually your tax counsel and your tax assessor will look at some of that, but it's also based off of your ordinance. So I have a client who owns a piece of property, disabled veteran, but he has a tenant. So in his instance, he's not getting the full full property tax deduction. He's getting a percentage because he occupies a percentage of the property. And then they argue about percentages, but so for purpose of tonight, these are consistent with your ordinance, which is what you are obligated to follow right now.
Right.
Going forward, if you wanted to look at whether you do or don't want to change it, then, we can work with your tax counsel to give you more information as to what the options are and do you want to change it or not. Obviously, pros and cons and policy decisions on that.
Great, you answered my question. Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Di Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins.
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Introduction of ordinances, ordinance 24-07, an ordinance amending chapter 5, article 16 of the municipal code of the township of Vernon. I have a motion to introduce ordinance 24-07.
Moved.
Moved by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Higgins. Roll call, please.
Benedetto,
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins.
Yes.
Sparta,
Yes.
Council President,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, this will be on after the estoppel period, this will be on the next agenda item discussion. Ordinance 24-11, an ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, addressing limousine licensing. May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 24-11?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Di Benedetto.
Yes.
Councilmember Higgins.
Yes.
Councilmember Sparta,
Yes.
Council President Rizzuto.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ordinance 24-12, an ordinance of the Township of Vernon, County of Sussex, State of New Jersey, amending chapter 374 titled Nuisances, Public Health, to address exterior lighting standards. May I have a motion to introduce this ordinance? 24-12, moved by Mr. Sparta.
Second.
Or a second, seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. Roll call vote.
Any questions on it, or is that?
Oh, this is an introduction.
For Di Benedetto.
Yes.
Yes.
Member Sparta,
Yes.
Yes.
motion carries.
Public comment. May I have a motion to open or to public comment? This is section of the meeting where public comment, 5 minutes per item they wish to address.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Di Benedetto. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Anyone here wishing to address the council?
Steve Dunlop, just a couple of comments. I was gonna bring it up before, but it didn't seem important enough. And resolution 24-166 references officers plural. When I actually looked at the ordinance, it looked like it was just one officer being approved. Be looked at, so there's no confusion as to what is being approved.
Yes, I will.
And ordinance 24-12, I know it's just been introduced, but it talks about lighting and night lighting. I've got a neighbor in my neighborhood that has a big 3 LED bulb that just lights up his whole yard like daytime. It's on all night, dusk to dawn. Shines in 2 or 3 of the houses. I just wonder how that's going to be monitored, controlled. We have an ordinance in the township right now that you're not supposed to fly the banner type flags. There's 3 of them in front of the hot dog place.
Feathers.
The feathers. There's 2 of them across the street at the dentist office. And I know there was a big fuss about it, and I know that I'm certain, I haven't been able to find it, but I'm certain there was an ordinance passed that those were prohibited. They
Absolutely, I will count that.
used. And right now, they're in the town center. You can't drive down 94 without seeing them. We've got a building right up the street that, in my opinion, has an illegal fire escape. I understand the council has brought it to the attention of the mayor. I don't know if it's been addressed. It's the back door of a building. There's no landing, and it's like a shepherd hook fire escape straight down, sitting on cinder blocks. I just can't imagine that can comply with any kind of ordinance. You've got the gazebo across the street at the Crystal Cafe. That was never permitted. That never went before any committees. It just appeared. I think we were quite lax because of COVID. And I understand some of this. We got to tighten up on some of this stuff. And then last but not least, not to waste my time or lose my time. The mayor recently announced that the state had given us a $75,000 grant for recreation, which he said will be applied to the lighting project at the Veteran Memorial Park. So since we budgeted $120,000, it's in the budget, was approved. My question is now, does this become a $200,000 lighting project? Or does that $75,000 that was budgeted go back into reserves where it can't be touched? Or does it just go into the big bucket to be used wherever they want to use it? I would hope the council would get some kind of clarification from the mayor as how that's handled. I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is on would you say the gazebo? Is a gazebo somewhere you said?
Yeah, they built out.
Where is that?
In at the Crystal Cafe, right?
Oh, it's a physical cafe.
Yeah.
I do have a meeting with zoning this week, on some of the issues that you mentioned, so.
I mean, it's all done at this point,
Yeah.
but yeah.
And I know Bubba's Hot Dogs is new, so, and that's a kind of a tough location.
No,
Um,
but they shouldn't have gone up in the first place if our zoning officer was doing her job.
But I think they allow, the feather flags for a certain period of time.
I don't believe that's stated in the.
Yeah.
You know, the ordinance banned them.
Did ban them? Oh, I thought there was a 30 or 60 day, on that. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr.
Arthur?
Anyone else wishing to?
McClackery Thomas. Two quick questions. On this veteran stuff, we're issuing checks to Core Logic. I assume that's either an attorney group or some sort of advocacy group. My question is, why are we not issuing the check to the veteran? Number one. Number two is, second part of that question, why don't we make it simpler for the veteran to file for the 100% disability? So they don't need an advocate or a lawyer. That's my first question.
Okay,
Sorry,
why don't you answer it if you have the answer?
I don't have the answer.
Neither do I. I mean, I don't, that's something that would either come from our attorney,
I figured,
come from.
I think they go through a very extensive process.
Protocol.
I think they go through an extensive process.
As far as being declared,
Correct, yes.
a totally 100% disabled, yes, they do. That has to come through the VA.
yeah, I know.
That VA gives them that classification.
We turn up to VA, if I got, because it ain't working.
I don't make the rules,
Yeah, I
the
know.
classification.
They don't make the rules. I know what the law is.
Thank you.
My point was to save the guy a couple of bucks. If we don't want to do that, fine and dandy. Here's my second question. When are we gonna get rid of this abysmal property tax assessment system? When are we gonna deep six this guy? You know, I made comments when we adopted it. At that point, I pointed it out. You could do it by computer. I don't have to look at a guy at my front door. And if I don't let him in, he's gonna get nasty and, pump up my price for me. It's like threats. It's a threat. It's a threat. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I want to get rid of this system. I want to say adios to these people, and it's long overdue. Anytime you can do it, do it. Pull the plug on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishing to address the council? Seeing no one else coming forward, I ask for a motion to close the floor to the public.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Sparta. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Higgins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Council comments. Mr. Higgins, do you have any?
Yeah, just one question, being that we were talking about the light pollution police effort up wherever it started. For years, there's been some dilapidated houses that are vacant, falling apart. And, you know, old cars in the driveway and buried in the yard. And some of them I go past every day when I go past the high school. What are the rules on those things? What can be done?
I've asked about that myself. Setbacks, because I know there's one building that's been torn down that's now been bringing it back up.
Right?
But, you know, if you take 2 steps out, you're going to be hit by a car. So I
Right.
think that the setback ought to be thought about, but I haven't had any comments.
Yeah, even further up the road, there's one that's even worse. You know,
It's a really, from a big picture standpoint, it's a real problem in a lot of municipalities because, the law, so first of all, a lot of it's governed by your own ordinances, in terms of property maintenance or vacant houses, things like that. But it's, oftentimes you're gonna have to do one of 2 things. You either have to use the court system, which is not fast for addressing things. Or you have to have ordinances that allow you to take matters into your own hands. So the grass gets up to be 6 feet tall, you can go in and you can cut it and then put a lien on the property or, within their taxes. But you still gotta have the manpower to go do it and then wait to collect your money until somebody sells the house. A lot of times there's really kind of 2 buckets of houses. It's either, or properties, houses, probably. Some of them are just straight up abandoned. People, for one reason or another, they're not there. They're bank-owned properties perhaps, or they're just literally abandoned. There's no real owner, so maybe a title owner, but that person is gone. Or it's a bank-owned property. And effectively, the bank is, they may or may not be the easiest to deal with. It's a local bank, yeah, sure, but if it's some national conglomerate type bank that's buying mortgages and properties and stuff like that, they can be difficult to even figure out who you have to contact on.
Yeah.
There was a system in place where you could require vacant properties or abandoned properties, 2 different terms. Vacant obviously just means someone's not there, abandoned is left it. There was a whole system where you could require them to register, pay licensing fees, and then have some ability to take additional action against them if they didn't maintain the properties. I think a court struck some of it down. I haven't looked at it recently for a client, but there was a system, there were some legal challenges to it. I don't know off the top of my head how much of it still remains. The other part though is just basic property maintenance, which depending on your ordinances, you could go in and have somebody, you could fine them. If they're not cleaning up themselves, you could potentially have situations where you do it. But oftentimes, if you're gonna do some of it, they either have to have a right to a hearing or you gotta go to court. It's not a fast process. If we need to, we can take a look at it or work with your zoning officer. If they think there's any, say deficiencies in your ordinances, if there's gaps where we can tighten it up, we can work with your staff to figure out if they know where stuff could be missing, where we could consider doing it. Sometimes people have concerns, that balancing of, wait a second, you're now policing how high I cut my grass? Or are you gonna be in there if I'm, at what point are you gonna be coming in and getting letters from the town? And usually they're not real issues from a.
Yeah, I'm actually referring to some situations that are so egregious.
Well, and that's the problem, is that you look at it and say, with
Animals living
right.
in the house.
Most municipalities, again, I can't speak to, I haven't looked at this for Vernon specifically, but you don't have them already, you can have laws that, ordinances that say you can't have abandoned cars on your property at all, or not, put them in a garage, but you can't have 7 cars on your property if they're not registered and operable. And if you don't do that, you can be fined. Of course, then, so the court system, so you fine them, it could mean it's 8 months before, you know, if you're on municipal court, it can still take a while,
Right.
but there's things you can do like that, so. That's the 2 different processes.
Thank you. I'm good.
But you're good. Okay, cool. Mrs. De Benedetto.
I'm excited to hear about the carnival, Mr. Mayor. We used to have one when I was growing up at the church.
Yeah,
And I was recently thinking about how great it would be if we, if that came back.
yeah, and speaking with them, you said, again, it's a huge revenue maker, so.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can, maybe apply those funds to, well, hopefully maybe our fire department or EMS again could benefit
Yeah.
from that, so,
It's exciting.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
That's it.
Mr. Sparta.
First, I want to thank everybody who had a part in Vernon Day on Saturday. I mean, it was a great day, weather-wise. I couldn't ask for better weather. And, seeing all the vendors out there and our volunteer services and seeing the kids on the bounce house and everything, it was a nice day. So everybody who had a hand in that, thank you very much. The second item is something I have toiled with over the last few weeks. I'm a staunch supporter of the delineation between the BOE and the council. We are 2 separate elected bodies with very distinct and separate responsibilities. Back in 2011 or 2012, Governor Christie allowed the Board of Education to move their elections to November as long as their budget didn't go over a cap. Myself and John McGowan voted to keep the elections in April, so the budget could still be voted on by the community. Needless to say, we were on the wrong side of the vote, and the vote on the budget was then removed. A few meetings ago, a member of the community mentioned that there was a process by which the council can have the school budget moved back to April and be voted on by the community. I have some strong conflicting feelings on whether or not we as a council should consider this. I feel if we decide to move forward, that it really does blur that line of distinction between the Board of Education and council. Also, there are some community members that don't know there's a difference between the 2 bodies, and that would only add to the confusion and may play a part in a delay of having a problem rectified by them going to the wrong elected body if they have an issue. On the other hand, the town is the fiduciary for the taxes received through property taxes. I have some significant concerns with where the school budget is at and where it is heading. I'm not going to discuss those concerns from the dais because it's not the time, nor is it the place. Mr. Council President, may I ask that we have a discussion item added to the agenda our next meeting where our attorney can present the process that is available to the council to place the school budget on the ballot for the community vote next April. And after that is presented to us, we as a council have a discussion as to whether this is something we want to consider doing or leave it as is. That is all. Thank you.
We can have that discussion. And based upon the attorney's recommendations or the information that he gives us, we can
If
have
it's,
another.
if it's okay with you, I think your next meeting, I'm on a cruise. So
You can zoom in.
yeah, I'm happy to do that.
You can.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, who's covering, depending on who's covering, I may ask that if we do it,
Okay.
Following.
I just don't want it to linger because
no, understood.
I think if I'm not mistaken, there is a process that's in place
There is.
that is,
Yes.
has some dates
Yeah,
involved in it.
Yeah, I don't want to give you the wrong information, but I believe as a general matter, it's between November and like January 15th.
Okay.
So you can't vote on it now.
Mhm.
You can discuss it, you can decide what you want to do. And I can walk you through what that process is, but as a general matter, it's got to be, I believe it's after the November election. But before like the 64th day before, there's a deadline that moves based off of when the election would be in April. And you have to do it within that window. You have to give, I believe it's a resolution, not an ordinance, but you have to give notice to the Board of Ed.
Right,
You can't kind of just
right.
throw it on there last minute, but so.
And also too, does it involve the election of members as well, or is that separate? They're all things I want you to.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'll go through
Yeah.
everything. The elections for board. Yeah, back to April. I believe that, I'll get you information about what it does to the current terms. I believe what it does is shorten the terms of the current people who are up.
Mhm.
So it doesn't extend it. So if you move it from November to April, then the people who would have been up the following November are now up in
Right.
April. So their terms get cut. Well, depending if they win or lose.
Because mine was actually lengthened when that.
Correct, because you moved it from April to November, so it pushed the election back. Here, you're
Yeah.
basically moving it up. So instead of being November 2025,
Mhm.
it's April of 2025. And but I'll prepare, I've done this, I looked at it for somebody else now going back a few months, but we have some stuff I think kind of already prepared. I'll dust that up and, provide it to you guys. And what I'll do is I'll send a memo, that, just summarizing it first, and then whether it's at the next meeting, I don't know who's covering yet. We have a couple vacations.
I'd rather you.
I was gonna say,
I'd rather.
if it's one of my partners, they can do it. If it's not one of the partners, then I would hold up. But I'll give you the memo so you have it in advance, and then we can talk about it in July or whenever it is. And go through that process.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. On a lighter note, right now we are entering graduation season, so we're going to see our schools closed for the summer, and we are going to see our youngsters on the streets a bit more, so I would ask the public to be careful in their driving, caution them, also wish our students a happy summer. And secondly, regarding the use of feather banners, those are in the ordinance. I was on the committee that developed that ordinance. And I remember distinctly when the ordinance was passed, I said, this will not be the last time that this ordinance will be addressed. And I think it's probably a good time to maybe look at it to see if in fact there is an opportunity to extend some courtesy to new businesses by utilizing the feather banners, or can the placement of those banners away from the road, say a setback? And as long as we don't have one of those stupid things with the guy flipping his arms out, blown up.
I think-
I probably be, somewhat.
I think, right, the ordinance allowed for it. I do have the ordinance on the desk because there are.
I don't remember it. I could be wrong, okay, because it was quite a few years ago. And secondly, the fact that this was brought up by members of the council and some people, in the public. Also, the questions regarding the issue of setback on some projects along the side of the road. Perhaps you could have the compliance officer look at these places,
I think,
especially the one.
I think the setback is like, if you have a 5 foot, like say feather flag, it's got to be 5 feet from the road and so on, right?
Not talking about that. I'm talking about the setback on the construction issues. And also the issue of safety on the rear exit egress, As a matter of fact, I've seen houses in our community, bi-levels, where you have a very large high back entrance, generally with the sliding glass door, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And I wonder to myself, in a panic, you open the door and you jump out, you're gonna fall. So it's something maybe we might want to send the,
It was brought to my attention, so it is, that discussion, is gonna happen this week, along with a couple other,
thank you very much.
so, yeah.
Any other comments? I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Mrs. De Benedetto. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Hey, Anthony,